If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we are back. I'm Chris Evans, the CEO of Survival Dispatch, flying solo by myself tonight. I'm actually running a little bit behind. Give me just a second to get the lights turned on in my office here. Just notice it's fairly dark in here. All right, so we're going to start with the top 10 news items tonight before we get into the main topic, which is Barry Soetoro and Wayne Allen Root and his relationship with him. So here's a bit of perspective context on the top 10 news items. So today I went to Legacy Media. I specifically instructed Grok, Cloud, and ChatGPT to go to Legacy Media like CBS, NPR, etc., and figure out what the top 10 news stories were. So every single thing that I'm going to give you out of these top 10 is from Legacy Media. And there's a point that I'm going to make to that once we get through it. So number one, government funding deadline looms. The House passed a funding bill to keep the government operational past March 14th, 2025, averting a shutdown. The Senate is now racing against the clock to approve it with partisan tensions high over spending priorities. Okay, first piece of context. The government has shut down before. The government can shut down again. Most people that have essential positions are classified as essential and they have to continue working. So it's not like everything grinds to a halt. The government shutdown stuff is more of a political theater than anything else, a distraction. Hey, look at what we're doing over here. We're having this confrontation on funding the government, but don't pay attention to what we're doing over there is really the play. And I know many of you are already aware of this. Number two, stock market volatility amid economic fears. U.S. stocks are experiencing a sharp sell-off driven by concerns over new tariffs proposed by President Trump and global trade retaliation. Corporate leaders are meeting with the administration to mitigate economic fallout as recession fears mount. So nobody in corporate USA that I've talked to has any fears that there's a recession coming. On the other hand, everybody is pretty excited to have Trump back in office and that our economy will tick up. This is another nothing burger distraction. People are not cluing into the fact, our audience is the exception, of course, but not cluing into the fact that tariffs are a means to an end. So Trump wants to drop our corporate tax rate to 15%, puts us pretty close to Ireland. I think they're 14.5%. And then with tariffs potentially looming over people manufacturing stuff outside of America, it just makes good sense for them to repatriate their manufacturing here in America. It's a stick, it's a tool. It's not something that is going to hit you and me in the pocket very much, to be quite frank, especially if we get to the point where we have an external revenue service that generates enough money from people paying for the privilege to participate in our economy, then we get rid of the IRS. Trump is hell-bent and determined to do that and get rid of income tax. So at the end of the day, a little bit more context and perspective here. We will exceed 31 trillion in GDP this year. China's projected to hit 19 trillion. Realistically, with their unemployment being so high, over 50% of their plants being shut down, I personally think it's going to be a struggle for them to get to 17 or 18 trillion. After that, the next country, Germany, it falls off a cliff by an order of magnitude. We are by far the largest, most sophisticated economy in the world. And people have been operating in our economy while also hitting us with tariffs going the other way in a very unfair trade imbalance. Canada, for example, is a great example. A lot of agricultural products, for our farmers to ship into Canada, they face 200 to 300% tariffs, but not the other way around. And that's not fair. So at the end of the day, when you have the biggest, most sophisticated economy in the world, you kind of have some power over this stuff. So moving on to number four, total lunar eclipse anticipation. A bloodworm moon total lunar eclipse is set for March 13th to the 14th, 2025, and is capturing national attention. Visible across North America, it's sparking widespread interest in astronomy and public viewing events. I got to tell you, other than polling the legacy media outlets, I don't see anybody all excited over the total lunar eclipse. So again, more entertainment, less true information. By the way, I missed number 3. I was wrong there. Trump's tariff threats escalate Canada-US trade dispute. President Trump's push to double tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum has led to Ontario to suspend electricity surcharges to the U.S., threatening billions in cross-border trade losses and straining diplomatic ties. Boy, howdy, do they ever have that one backwards. So the Premier of Ontario said that he was going to charge a 25% additional fee for electricity sent to the northern states. The first thing Donald Trump did was declare a state of emergency, which then gives the federal government the abilities to spend money, allocate money to fix whatever the problem is. In this case, generate more electricity. The very same day that Ford announced that he was going to tax us 25% extra on energy for northern states, Trump said, no problem. We're going to put additional tariffs on aluminum and steel. And in very short order, Ford folded like a cheap suit, and no 25% extra charge on electricity. And then Trump, of course, didn't have to put the extra tariffs on top of aluminum and steel. It's a great bargaining chip, especially when you have the largest, most sophisticated economy in the world. So the headline from legacy media here saying that, this looms over us, that situation's already settled. The 25% on the electricity, the additional tariffs, which Trump didn't have to implement, it worked the way it's supposed to work as far as negotiating. And keep in mind, we are in the driver's seat. Nobody has an economy that's anywhere near as large or sophisticated as ours, but we allow these other countries to charge our companies in America huge tariffs to go into their economy, but we've been charging them nothing or next to nothing to be in our economy. Completely backwards, completely abusive to the American taxpayer, American consumer as well. All right, number 5, U.S.-Russia talks over Ukraine gain traction. High-level discussions, possibly involving Marco Rubio meetings and Saudi Arabia, are underway as the U.S. navigates contact with Russia over the ongoing Ukraine conflict, now in its 3rd year, stirring debate over peace terms. Personally, I think if the Russian territories, Crimea and Donbass, that were part of Russia forever and ever and should have never been made part of Ukraine, if they are ceded to Putin and he doesn't end up with NATO on his doorstep, Ukraine being a NATO partner, I think this whole thing can draw to an end and we can stop having people being killed. And we can also stop the excessive money laundering that's going from us to Ukraine and then coming back to crooked politicians here in America and crooked NGOs and so on and so forth. All right, number 6, federal workforce faces Trump-Musk oversight. Oh no, oversight. So a second wave of emails from federal agencies demands employees justify recent work signaling an aggressive push by Trump and Elon Musk to scrutinize and potentially overhaul the federal workforce. So where to start? In private industry, everybody is measured against what are called KPIs, key performance indicators. Okay, so at the top of a large organization or mid-market organization, you will have certain key performance indicators that you're monitoring on a very frequent basis, sometimes by the hour, sometimes by the day, sometimes by the week, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in order to drive your KPIs at the top, you end up breaking down into KPIs, each division in your business. So operations would have their KPIs and sales would have their KPIs. And if you had manufacturing, QA, QC would have their KPIs. So all the KPIs that are at a lower and a middle level feed the main KPIs for the business. And everybody who's either the head of a department, a manager, middle manager, executive, or C-suite level has KPIs that they are measured against. What's measured gets done. If you're not measuring it, how do you improve. And if you're not improving, you're dying. So NCAA coach Lou Holtz, I had lunch with him years ago on the rooftop restaurant in San Diego, Manchester Grand Hyatt. And he said to us at the table, he said, your business is just like a tree. It is either growing or dying. He said, look at the life cycle of a tree. It doesn't just come up and sit status quo and carry on. It's either growing or it's dying. So if your business is not growing, you're essentially dying. And some people manage to pull out of that tailspin, but many people who start enabling cuts end up failing because you can't cut your way to prosperity. So how does this apply to the government? We have multiple people who've worked in government for years, many good people, many not so good people, deadwood, and they have not been held accountable for their performance or lack of performance. And they have not been measured against KPIs like they were in the past. So when government was smaller, here's one that comes to mind immediately. Years ago, I got audited and my business got audited. And I was told by one of our CPAs, he said, you got to give them something. I said, what do you mean I got to give them something? He said, they have to at least justify how much money's been spent, their time and whatever resources to investigate your business. Otherwise, they get in trouble. It's one of the KPIs that they measure. So we had a break-in. Somebody drove through the front of my office. Paperwork went flying all over the place. They never did catch the people who broke into my office. So I went to this lady the next day. She came in and I said, hey, listen, you're asking for receipts on this thing and I don't have the receipt. And that was the truth. And she said, well, why don't you have the receipt? And I said, well, look, we were broken into. They drove through the front of our office. Everything went flying. It was a super windy day. I can't produce it. So why don't you do this? Charge me the extra taxes on that thing and we'll call it a day. And you could literally see the relief on her face, like, whew, okay, so I've justified my time and expenditure of coming out. And I paid it and it went away. But we're talking 25 plus years ago. These days, things have run so amok with big government. And part of it was the work from home debacle at COVID. There's instances where that's good and not so good. But when you cut people free to work at home and they end up working second jobs and not doing very much because they're not being measured in their primary job with the government, it's ripe for abuse. So all this belly aching over Doge saying, what did you do? What did you produce? And it has to be more than an activity report. Anybody can give you a report that shows they were very active, but did they actually produce anything? That's what matters at the end of the day. And that's why we have KPIs, key performance indicators. All right. Number 7, Girl Scouts sued over cookie safety concerns. A lawsuit alleging heavy metals and pesticides in Girl Scout cookies is making waves, raising questions about food safety and prompting a national conversation about consumer trust in iconic brands. So I would say it's sparking a national conversation and all the crap that's been put into our food that has made Americans on the whole the sickest people in the country. Not my words. Many other people have said that. So let's get into a little bit of background on this as it relates to Girl Guide cookies, or anything else out there, fast food, etc. If you are in your 40s or older, you probably remember the war on fat. So we had the FDA and all major food manufacturers saying we've got to take fat out of food. It's making people overweight, etc., etc. And number one, think back to Native Americans. 50% of their diet was animal fat, and they were as lean as all get out. And there's a reason for that I'll get to in just a second. So when you remove fat from food, it tastes like crap. So how do you make it taste palatable again? You put sugar in it, and you put copious amounts of sugar in it. And when you put sugar in food that has a very high glycemic value, meaning it spikes your blood sugar level in the blink of an eye, well, as fast as it rises, it falls off a cliff. And what happens when your blood sugar falls off a cliff? Your body says, oh my God, you're dying of hunger. Eat. You need to eat more. So the next part to this is that when you look at brain activity, the cerebral cortex, when somebody does cocaine versus people who are addicted to sugar, which is most Americans, The cerebral cortex lights up the exact same way. Interesting fact, sugar is processed almost the exact same way that cocaine is processed. And the food manufacturers knew this. They knew if they took fat out of food, it would taste like crap, that they would put sugar in there, that you would become highly addicted to sugar. So you can look up graphical representations of how much sugar the average American ate in the 70s versus today. And it's an order of magnitude difference. So you eat the sugar, your blood sugar goes up, your blood sugar falls off a cliff. Oh my God, I got to eat more. You eat more food, you spend more money on food, you get more overweight, you're more sedentary because you have less ambition to go do physical activity because you're out of shape. And listen, I'm not immune to this myself. I'm 56 years old, just turned 56. We had a super busy month last month. We were in Vegas for SHOT Show, and then it just seemed like there was one thing after another after another. Normally, I train 5 days a week. So run and gun training with training firearms. So do an exercise, sprint 20 yards, shoot a volley, do another exercise, and keep doing that back to back to back. So it gives me cardio activity, improve me as a shooter with an elevated heart rate, referred to as stress inoculation. I got my muscles, toned and worked out because I'm training with bands and dumbbells, et cetera, et cetera. I could not train as much last month as I normally do. And what happened when I went out to resume my normal training schedule, my lower back was killing me. And I'm not talking disc pain, I'm talking muscular pain. And why is that? Because sitting extra hours on a plane in my office, things started to go south. My muscles were not in as high a level of fitness. They were atrophying, and I was paying a price for it. But I've been through this before, and I knew that I had to get off my ass, no matter how much it was bothering my lower back, to get back to it. So today, I actually did a double workout of run and gun stuff. And for the first time in the past month and change, my lower back hasn't been hurting. So anyway, that's the sugar and how it relates to food and what needs to be done with our food supply. Our food supply is absolutely poisoned compared to other countries. You're seeing now chains moving to beef tallow instead of seed oils, which there's all sorts of problems that happen with as far as your health of your arteries and then plugging up, and soft plaque versus hard plaque. It's a complex subject. I don't think that our audience wants to hear a whole lot about that, so I'm not going to go on about it. If I'm wrong, let me know you can let me know in the chat. I probably won't see what you chat tonight, though, because I'm by myself. But if anybody's interested in that, you can always reach us by email, support@survivaldispatch.com. All right, number 8, Southwest wildfire forces evacuations. A lightning-sparked wildfire in a drought-hit desert region is worsening, with evacuations underway, hazardous air quality, and preemptive power shutoffs and extreme heat, highlighting climate-driven emergencies. So, back to the beginning. Remember, I told you all 10 of these stories are from legacy media. And legacy media, of course, is going to beat it to death that we have this climate change that's responsible for everything. It's responsible for immigrants invading our country. It's responsible for rising prices. It's responsible for wildfires and everything else. And it's all baloney. Somebody a couple weeks ago in Europe published a report and said that January was the warmest year on record for January. And the question you have to ask is, since when? In the 1500s, it was way warmer than it is right now. It was a huge long-term heat wave that was affecting the entire world. 500 years before that, even worse. So keep in mind that this climate change narrative, it started out global cooling, then it went to acid rain, then it went to global warming, then it went to climate change. What's the purpose behind that? Oh, it's a boogeyman who threatens our existence as mankind. And therefore, the only way that we can survive this calamity is if we have a one world government and we all join together, kumbaya, and fight the evil climate change to turn the world around so that we can survive. That's all it is. It is just a political, it's another political theater act, basically. All right, number 9. Michelle Obama's podcast reveal. Michelle Obama and her brother Craig Robinson have announced a new weekly podcast blending personal stories and cultural commentary, generating buzz about her continued influence post-White House. Look, I could give a flying crap what anybody does that's a public feeder. figure, pardon me. I don't care if it's Rosie O'Donnell moving out of the country or Ellen moving out of the country or Michelle Obama having a podcast or Oprah doing something on something, whatever. It means absolutely nothing to me. And I would hazard to guess that the majority of Americans are similar to me. They don't really give a crap. So this whole thing, Michelle Obama's podcast generating all kinds of interest. I don't know a single person who is excited to see Michelle Obama's podcast. Not one, not a single person. I talk to a lot of people through the course of work every single day. All right, number 10, March Madness bracket predictions heat up. With the NCAA tournament nearing, bracketology updates are fueling excitement with teams like UConn and Kentucky in the spotlight, despite injuries affecting NBA and college rosters alike. So honestly, out of the 10 things that the legacy media basically told all these AIs the top stories, this is probably the only legitimate one, that there are people who are diehards. They follow the NCAA, whether regardless it's football or basketball in this particular case. So I can see in March Madness, I can see that being a higher priority for some people who love their sports and love their college sports in particular. But at the end of the day, other than that one, the rest of them are all looking through the lens of legacy media. Okay. And out of those top 10, you may have noticed that not a single word was said. I didn't report on a single word with regards to inflation. Last month being lower than expected, both the inflation rate as well as the CPI. Didn't say anything about egg prices having dropped significantly in the past week to 10 days. And didn't say anything about fuel, gas, being at the lowest level that it's been since Trump was in office previously. So that's kind of an indicator that this lens provided by legacy media is focused on feeding the public information that keeps them entertained and distracted, and sure as heck doesn't want to give any credit to Donald Trump or Donald Trump's admin. So that's why I left them the way they were today. Yesterday was the exact opposite. Yesterday, I put them together the way that I felt they were the most heavily weighted news topics. Today's exact opposite, legacy media. Let me know if y'all would like to see it back and forth like that, or one way or the other. Happy to adjust to whatever our audience wants. Business 101, right? Play to your audience. All right, so headline story here. All roads lead to Obama. So this started with an article written by Wayne Allen Root, and there was a part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay, and these are all very recent articles. They were originally published on the Gateway Pundit, if memory serves me right. And here we go. Now we're getting into tonight's main story. My watch is going off. Abnormal high heart rate detected. No kidding. All right. So who's Wayne Allen Root? So Wayne Allen Root is an American conservative. He's a media personality, an author, political commentator. He was born in 1961, Mount Vernon, New York. He's known for having very outspoken views, often aligning with what the legacy media would tell you would be far right. I don't buy that narrative. I don't like that language at all, because what is identified as the far right today is actually just center right. We didn't move over all these decades. The left just went so far off the deep end that way that now they're like, oh, call those guys over there far right. So I would just say center right. Anyway, Root graduated. He was valedictorian at Thornton Donovan School. He majored in political science. He got a degree in that from Columbia University in 1983. And that's where he claims to have been a classmate of Barack Obama, though he never met Barack Obama. And that's a point that he's been bringing up for years. He'll frequently say, look, I was at Columbia at the same time Barack Obama was supposedly at Columbia, but I never saw him. I didn't see him in any of my classes. I didn't see him on campus, nothing. And it's anecdotal, of course, but it's part of Wayne's, I guess, overall impression, opinion of Obama. So moving on from there. So Wayne Allen Root got into television, radio, writing books. He's got a podcast called The Root Reaction on Real America's Voice TV. He's got another one, Wayne Allen Root Raw and Unfiltered, and that's a national radio show, by the way. He's been on Newsmax TV. He's produced shows, Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel. He's basically a frequent personality in online news and media. That's probably the easiest way to say it. But he has had frequent appearances with Donald Trump, and he strongly supports Donald Trump. He's also written some books, including The Conscience of a Libertarian 2009 and The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide 2013, blending his political ideology with these self-help themes. So I guess when the word libertarian comes up, it's important to give some context to that as well. When any of us, especially at Survival Dispatch, say we're a libertarian, that's lowercase l, not capital L. Capital L, those guys are completely loony. And a textbook libertarian has basically had the same attitude that we've had for years. That has not worked, by the way, but we don't care what y'all do over there. If you're not hurting anybody else, do whatever you want. Just leave us alone. That libertarian characteristic has put us in the current situation that we are, where we gave these loonies on the left an inch, and they didn't take a mile. They took hundreds of miles. Okay. So anyway, moving into the first part, or the first stuff to share. Let me bring this up right here. Got a lot of stuff on the agenda. In case you guys don't know this, we could really use a producer, by the way. All right. So this is the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner. And this is where Barack Obama laid into Donald Trump in public for the first time. And this is kind of considered to be that watershed event where Donald Trump's mind started going, okay, I'm going to have to run for president. It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds long. I'm going to play the entire video because it sets the context for multiple points that I'm fixing to bring up.
Is here tonight. Now I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice, at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night. Well handled, sir. Well handled. Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we got up there.
All right. So another short clip from that night, and Joe Rogan comments on it here. Remember the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Obama said, I am the one thing that he will never be president. Big mistake, right? Never, ever tell someone like Donald Trump that he can't do something, because he will keep trying until he makes a joke out of you. 34 seconds, and then we'll be back into some commentary.
There's one thing that I am that you'll never be. President of the United States. You see Trump in the audience going, okay, motherfucker.
I was actually at that White House correspondents' dinner where, it's supposed to be a roast of the president. It was so over the top, it was like making everyone uncomfortable.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
They twisted the knife big on Trump. And you can see Trump just getting like angrier and angrier and more upset. That's 2 tables away from Trump. And I'm looking at him like, this is too much.
Well, it's kind of crazy because that's the kind of guy that if you tell him he can't do something, he's going to just keep trying.
So actually, I've got one more of Obama's anti-Trump outburst to play here. This is when he mocked Donald Trump, saying at least he would go down as a president, but this could not have aged worse.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump. At least I will go down as a president.
All right, so the left ate that up, and this is kind of funny. Donald Trump posted this the day of his first inauguration, when you see the guy who said you'll never be president at your inauguration. So rather fitting that he would throw that up there. So the first of 3 articles that Wayne Allen wrote on this topic was called All Roads Lead to Obama. This was part 1 right here. And essentially, I'm going to boil down the top 5 or 6 talking points in this first one. So Wayne Allen Root said multiple times that Obama's like the evil Manchurian candidate and communist mastermind of everything that's bad that's happened to America and President Trump. And Wayne Allen Root considers himself a witness because it all started at Columbia University. Okay. So this was published February 26th this year, 2025. So here are the main points from the article. And if you go to patreon.com/survival dispatch, you can download the sit rep just like any other night. It's $9.99 a month. And there's links to all of this stuff. But if you really want to read this anyway, you don't even have to have the sit rep for tonight. Just go to Gateway Pundit and search on Wayne Root. It'll all come up. All right. So the first main point brought up by Wayne Allen Root in this first of 3 articles is that he asserts that Barack Obama is the mastermind behind numerous negative events in America, including the persecution of Donald Trump, labeling him an evil Manchurian candidate and communist orchestrator. Number 2, personal connection. So Root claims he was Obama's classmate at Columbia University in 1983, both majoring in political science and pre-law, but suggests Obama's presence there is suspicious as he never saw him despite their shared academic path. Supposedly they were supposed to be in the same classes. They were in the same year of graduating, etc. Never crossed paths. All right, number 3, Columbia University origins. Root ties Obama's alleged agenda to their time at Columbia, hinting at a conspiracy involving Obama's admission as a foreign exchange student from Indonesia and questioning his eligibility to serve as president. Number 4, alleged misdeeds. The article accuses Obama of initiating major issues like spying on Trump, the Russian collusion narrative, the green energy scam, open border policies, and Trump's legal persecution, framing them part of Obama's communist plot or desire to turn America into a communist/socialist state. So number 5, advice to Trump. So Root urges President Trump, again, this is just last month, along with FBI Director Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi, to investigate Obama, starting with his Columbia records, to unravel what he calls a grand conspiracy against America. So as you probably already picked up, the tone of Wayne Allen Root's articles are, a lot of it is anecdotal. A lot of it is his gut instincts. There is some evidence, but it's kind of a blend of all 3 things that I just mentioned. And he's always positioned Obama as like this central figure behind America's woes over, let's say, the past 15 years, and also actively undermining Donald Trump. So I'll give credit to Wayne Allen Root. When he writes content on any topic, it's usually a call to action of sorts. where he tries to give people like you and me things that we can actively engage in to make a difference for whatever the cause is. And in this particular case, we had a meme on the other night ago that speaks really well to this, where when the USAID money dried up for a bunch of NGOs, instead of having hundreds or thousands of protesters at these events supporting left-wing stuff, all of a sudden it's just a handful of people. And Obama's been a big part behind that, making it appear that the left is much bigger, more influential than the right is, when in reality, you and I have been funding that through our tax dollars and through NGOs. So at the end of the day, at a high level in this first article and anything else from Wayne Allen Root on this subject, he, I think, accurately portrays Obama as a very destructive force in American politics. So moving on to the next piece here is a search that I did on Obama foreign student ID. You can see it at the top of my screen there. And I was just curious what might come up as a result of that. And what came up was people discussing Obama's birth certificate. I'm not in a position to say unequivocally that it's legit or not legit. Let's just suffice it to say, at this point in time, as far as I'm concerned, there's a strong possibility that the Hawaii birth certificate is not legit, but I can't prove that. So I'm not going to stick on that point too long. But moving on from there, so this is Benny Johnson and Kash Patel talking, and this is with regards to the CIA basically concocting the whole Russia collusion hoax. And it was done with the Five Eyes. So these are 5 countries that we participate with and sharing intel: Canada, Great Britain, New Zealand, Australia. And it's a good conversation. It's 2 minutes long, but this will just give you another perspective from somebody else other than Wayne Allen Root, but tied to the same topics.
Oh, it does seem like there is like full scale panic, a lot of buttons being hit right now. One of those buttons is a binder went missing of CIA material. This binder was locked inside of a safe, which was locked inside of another safe called a turducken, I guess. You would probably know more about that than I, but these alarm bells went off, and we did a whole show yesterday on it about, wait a second, so the CIA is losing these binders of Russian intelligence information. That sounds like what Kash told us nigh on 18 months ago when he was in studio. And sure enough, you said they have all of this information exonerating Donald Trump in the Russiagate ordeal hoax, and the government is sitting on it. They won't allow it to be made public, and now suddenly those binders go missing. What's going on, Kash?
It is the ultimate government con job. Nobody lost that binder. The Russians and the Iranians didn't break into the Central Intelligence Agency, then break into a SCIF, then break into a safe, and then secretly escape with the materials so they could blame Donald Trump for missing documents. The CIA knows exactly where that binder is. So does the Department of Justice. But the grundoons in the media are like, how do we turn this on Donald Trump? Because it actually exonerates Donald Trump. So what do? We make it look as if Donald Trump stole the binder, which is completely preposterous. They actually know that. And oh, by the way, there's an email from the Department of Justice to the National Archives that says the binder has been returned. Thank you for giving it to us. That's their email. What, did Merrick Garland lose it? Did the head librarian, release it to somebody with a government credit card and say, thanks for renting out Donald Trump's exoneration binder? This is a total disinformation operation by the mainstream media. They are in, as you said, full panic mode. The documents in that binder, which I still can't talk about, completely exonerate Donald Trump. And of course, it goes missing in an election year. These people in Congress need to hold the CIA, the NRA, the librarians, and the DOJ accountable. And they're just not doing it.
All right. So good input from hands-on input from Kash Patel. So next up is the second article out of this trilogy published by the Gateway Pundit and written by Wayne Allen Root. So this one was February 27th. So 2 days after the last article. And these are fairly decent length articles. I mean, they're not crazy long, but they're long enough. And I'm going to do the same thing again that I did on the first one, and I'll give you a highlight of the main points as opposed to just reading verbatim off the page. So the main thesis in this article from Wayne Allen Root is that Barack Obama is essentially a criminal mastermind. My words, not his. And that sometimes Wayne Allen Root has a flair for, how shall we say, the dramatic. I don't know if I would call Obama a criminal mastermind. He's not a good guy, but I don't think I'd call him that. Anyway, so this article, though, is where Wayne Allen Root gets into accusing Obama of committing serious offenses against Donald Trump and the nation. And again, a Manchurian candidate of sorts. So one of those would be spying on the Trump campaign. So Root claims it's a fact that the U.S. government spied on Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, and asserts Obama either ordered or approved it, likening it to Watergate, labeling it a high-level crime. But we now have unequivocal proof that this happened, that Trump Tower was bugged, that the direct order came from Obama to do this, that this is no longer speculation. This has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. So just the fact that Obama authorized that, it speaks volumes as far as, say, his lack of integrity. So the next piece, of course, would be, what's the FBI involvement in that? So Wayne Allen Root then alleges that James Comey, under Obama's direction, ran a secret operation with 2 female agents embedded in Trump's campaign to gather intel, which was then shared with Hillary Clinton to undermine Trump's bid. Unlike the first point, I have not seen unequivocal proof written in stone of that. But if there's smoke, there's usually fire. All right, next one up, Clinton Foundation accusation. So Root accuses Obama of complicity in a deal where Hillary Clinton facilitated the transfer of U.S. plutonium to a Russian company in exchange for a $145 million donation to the Clinton Foundation, implying corruption at Obama's behest. So that's something actually where there's a mountain of what I would call circumstantial evidence to support that. So nobody's been convicted in court, so I can't say that it's, again, written in stone, but there's so much supporting evidence there. I don't think anybody at this point in time trusts Hillary Clinton at all, whether they're, Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian, or MAGA, or whatever. I still think some people are under the Obama spell, but not as many as there were at one point in time. So I would say, for legal purposes, by the way, in this second article by Wayne Allen Root, is he went to some length to clarify that he is not a legal or national security expert, and that his claims are based on gut feeling, common sense, those sort of things. And the second article lays the groundwork for the third article, and he starts alluding to the fact that he has some information from the CIA that he's going to reveal, which I'll get to in just a minute. And the last part of that article, the second article, was him publicly calling upon Trump and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi to investigate and prosecute Obama, comparing his alleged actions to be much worse than Richard Nixon's were. And I would agree with that. So essentially, it's a continuation of the first article with a little bit more information. So I've got a couple of videos here to play. First one's 2 minutes long, and this is regarding the CIA spying on Donald Trump and at the behest of Barack Obama.
Tonight, at least one U.S. senator is calling for the CIA director to resign after the agency admitted today to spying not on a foreign government, but on our own Congress, improperly finding their way into U.S. Senate computers during an investigation into the CIA's interrogation techniques after 9/11. We get details tonight from NBC's Andrea Mitchell.
For months, the CIA has denied spying on the Senate, hacking into computers, spying on Senate investigators looking into alleged CIA torture of prisoners after 9/11. The CIA director was emphatic in March.
The CIA went into their computers and took documents out and
were attempting to block their own investigation.
The facts will come out, but let me assure you that CIA in no way was spying on the SSCI or the Senate.
At issue, a suspected CIA cover-up of waterboarding and other harsh interrogation techniques during the Bush years. The Senate Intelligence Chair demanded answers.
I have grave concerns that the CIA's search may well have violated the separation of powers principles embodied in the United States Constitution.
Today, the CIA's own watchdog, the Inspector General, said Brennan was wrong. 5 agency employees, including 2 attorneys, improperly accessed the computers, launching a keyword search of all and a review of some of the emails of Democratic staff members.
Who authorized the search? We need to know why they thought it was legal, and we need to know how that person is going to be held accountable.
Other senators are demanding that the CIA director, John Brennan, one of the president's closest advisors, be fired. This is that 5-year-long torture investigation is about to be released any day now, Brian.
Andrea Mitchell in our DC newsroom tonight. Andrea, thanks.
All right, go ahead and stop that one there. So I've actually got one more on the same topic, and then another one on the FBI weaponization against Donald Trump. So next one up here has Byron Donald in it, who will probably be our next governor here in Florida. So let's take a look at what's occurred over the past few years. Obama officials spied on Trump's 2016 campaign. We know that unequivocally. It's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not something that has not been proven. Is Intel chair, Representative Schiff, leaked classified information. We know that unequivocally. We also know that Schiff and Liz Cheney coached witnesses for the J6 committee. So, I mean, he's a shady guy doing shady things. He's one of the elite politicians making around $200,000 a year, but worth tens of millions of dollars. How do you accrue that kind of wealth and that type of income? All right, next one. Harris Biden allowed for lawfare versus their political rival. So all of these charges against Trump were trumped up BS. The one that they really pushed hard for in the SDNY with Letitia James and Alvin Bragg to try and label Donald Trump a felon was they took 14 what would be misdemeanors, essentially bookkeeping errors on the part of a CPA or a bookkeeper. And the statute of limitations had expired on the 14 items. But the judge said, well, we're going to take them and kind of morph them together, and we'll say it's a felony. But we don't actually have a statute for that felony, but that's how we're going to treat it. And then, of course, the trial, this was Judge Merchan, was subject to an incredible conflict of interest. His daughter runs a consulting firm that's been paid many, many millions of dollars by Democrat PACs. He refused to recuse himself. Then it gets even worse. When it was time to instruct the jury, he said, look, you've got 14 charges to consider. If 4 of you find him guilty on one charge, and 4 more of you find him guilty on another charge, and 4 more of you find him guilty on another charge, we'll just add that up together. That's 12. We'll call it a conviction. Obviously, that is not how our jury system works. You have to have unanimous decisions on each individual count. So, of course, the jury came back and said guilty based on that. So Donald Trump that was essentially, let's say, how can I say this? Falsely convicted of a felony that doesn't exist and to this day has not been specified as far as a specific statute is concerned. So then the next part to that is they kept delaying the sentencing based on the upcoming election, what happened after the election. They were reportedly going to put him in Rikers. It was all prepared. Then he won in a landslide, and they probably weighed the risk and decided that a civil war was probably not worth putting Donald Trump in jail because everybody would lose as a result of that. So when he went back in for sentencing with Judge Merchan in December, Merchan said, well, I'm going to suspend your sentence. But that meant that he was convicted and sentenced. So until you're sentenced, you're not officially a felony. Democrats got their talking point and could call him a felon. It'll all get overturned on appeal, but it doesn't really matter to the Democrats and the rhinos I mean, we're not Republicans here at Survival Dispatch at all, but they want to get the headline so that their followers will keep repeating the headline. And then there's a retraction, of course, down the road that they fail to mention, that they hide on the back page of a newspaper, those sort of things. All right, next one. Harris and Biden sick the FBI on parents and Catholics. Absolutely disgusting. I mean, the FBI for 4 years ran around the country saying that white domestic terrorism, number one threat to America, not cartels, not Trenda Aragua, but white Americans out there supposedly committing all the most heinous crime. And of course, the crime stats don't jive with that, not even close. But they also went after, as I just mentioned, parents and Catholics. It was crazy. Harris and Biden censored and suppressed free speech. So we now know, whether it was Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case may be, YouTube, Google, etc., that the Biden-Harris admin and every Western government around the world had a back-end portal where they could go into these social media platforms, delete people, delete their comments, suppress people, deplatform people. So if anybody spoke out against the election results, anybody spoke out against the Charlie 19 or anything like that, all of the social media companies were in cahoots with the government. And this has been admitted. Mark Zuckerberg is copped to it. Jack Dorsey, the former CEO and founder of Twitter, copped to it and said he wished he'd never done it. And to this day, there's many pieces of that, say, censorship apparatus that still exists under the hood, meaning deep in the code on these social media platforms. Harris Biden destroyed careers over vax mandates. So multiple people who refused to do that lost their job, lost their careers, lost their pensions, healthcare, everything that goes with it. And essentially they were punished for being dissenters, let's say. Let's see. Harris Biden covered up the Biden family corruption. So Joe Biden's family has 350 LLCs. Why would that be? Why was Hunter Biden paid $83,000 a month by Burisma to be on the board for an energy company that he knows nothing about? And, you know, not only that, but the 51 Intel experts who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. When we knew at the time that was not the case, we unequivocally know that now. All the media has copped to that, but too little, too late. You know, they tried to cover for Biden, and it's all come out now, which is why support for legacy media from my generation older. So I'm a Gen Xer. So baby boomers, they still trust the legacy media more than any other group. But as you get younger and younger, there's less trust in the legacy media because they got caught red-handed doing this stuff. Harris Biden covered up Biden's cognitive decline. How come every single thing that he signed was done by auto pen, except for his letter saying he was not going to run for re-election? You know, and that begs the question, who was running the show? And spoiler alert, Barack Obama was running the show at the behest of John Brennan. And we'll cover that when we get to Wayne Allen's third chapter of his trilogy here. Harris Biden emboldened enemies. They broke our border on purpose. So Democrats don't breed, liberals don't breed. And because they don't breed, that means they risk not having anybody to vote for them down the road. So they had two things that they have to do to continue to get people to vote for them. One, import illegals who are not only not literate in English, but they're illiterate in their own language. Look that up. I'm not making that up. I'm not trying to be ignorant. It's a true story. Any CBP officer will tell you that, by the way, like JJ Carroll's mentioned it right here on SDN before. So you have to flood the country with these illegals, and you have to indoctrinate children. And that's one of the biggest things that we have to push against, because they've been indoctrinating your children, my children, all of our children, so that they have people who vote for them because they didn't have kids themselves that would go on and vote for them. They politicized our nation's institutions. I mean, that's at multiple different levels, renaming, you know, Fort Bragg, renaming Fort Benning, et cetera, just ridiculous baloney. Weaponized people who were patriotic to America. So if you had a American flag, or you spoke out in patriotic terms, or you wore anything patriotic, oh, you're one of those domestic terrorists. How in the hell did we get to the point where any American would think to themselves that a person with an American flag was an enemy? Just, it's mind-blowing stuff. Let's see. So Byron basically says this weaponization must end, and this is why many moderates and independents are joining our movement to make America great again. So I'm not going to play the video. I chose to summarize it in my own words just because a lot of talking points there. But the next one up, Jesse Waters, Obama's CIA accused of targeting Trump, starting the entire Russia hoax. We know that the Clinton campaign paid for the Steele dossier to be fabricated and written. Then we know that that was given to judges in secret FISA court hearings, which in turn was given, they gave the FBI and CIA the ability to spy on Trump, supposedly FBI domestically, CIA internationally. I'm not sure that's the way it went down, but either way, it all started with this fake dossier, which has been proven fake, and which the money goes right back to the Clinton campaign. There's no ifs, ands, or buts what the origin is. And so Jesse Waters speaks on this here, and this was from last April, so before we got through to the election. It's 4.5 minutes long. I'll probably play about half of it.
Brand new details about how Obama's CIA targeted Trump and started the entire Russia hoax. For years, we were told that tips from an Australian diplomat tipped off the FBI after a random conversation with Papadopoulos, a no-name 20-something. But according to new reporting by Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, the whole thing was a CIA setup. Former CIA Director John Brennan identified 26 Trump associates to be targeted by the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, and then those interactions were the targets and were targeted by the FBI as suspicious. And that's how the FBI launched the Russia collusion hoax. The details of this entire operation have been stored in a top secret binder in a secret room in Washington. Trump ordered the whole thing declassified, and now the rumor is that the binder might be missing. Joining me now, one of the reporters who broke the story, Michael Schellenberger. Michael, explain how this all started with the CIA picking these 26 Trump people.
Yeah, good to be with you, Jesse. Well, obviously, this is an extremely serious story and serious allegation by multiple credible sources that Public and Racket, that's Matt Taibbi's publication, have spoken to. These are people that are close to the House intelligence investigation of how the Russia collusion hoax began. The story, as you mentioned, was that, oh, we were just informed by foreign intelligence about this. Our sources tell us a very different story, which is that this was initiated by the U.S. government. It came from within the U.S. government's intelligence community, including the CIA, that they asked the so-called Five Eyes nations intelligence agencies, that's the other English-speaking nations, including Britain and Australia, to spy on 26 Trump associates, or at least they had a list of the 26 associates that were identified. This is new information. Some people have theorized about this and speculated about it. We feel very confident that our sources were in a position to know and are very credible in this report. It's obviously a very serious allegation because this is illegal spying and it's illegal election interference.
All right, so I'll stop it there. Again, if you want to see, you want to watch these videos in their entirety, go to patreon.com/survivaldispatch. Sign up for an insider account, $9.99 a month or $95. You get a big discount if you pay for the whole year. And every single day, our situation report goes there. Tonight's sit rep, for example, I want to say has 4 or 5 stories in it that we're not covering on air because of the censorship, but they're at the end of the sit rep under the restricted section. Anyway, moving on from there, this takes us into the third article from Wayne Allen Root on this topic, and this one was published a couple weeks later on March the 10th. And much like the first two, it's a decent sized article. I don't think it's overly wordy, but it's long enough. I mean, it probably takes the average person 7-8 minutes to read, something along those lines. So I've summarized it. I've actually read all 3 of the articles multiple times, just so I have my brain screwed on properly. So let's talk about the main bullets first. So essentially, we're back to, he argues that, hold on. I had the wrong page up. My apologies. All right, let me go back to my notes here. Okay, first and foremost, interesting enough, on part 3 is he claims that the auto pen scandal is much larger than what people realize, at least realize so far. So essentially what's been reported now is that Joe Biden signed barely anything. Now there's some people like Wayne Allen Root take it to the extreme and say he didn't sign anything. And I don't know that that's the truth. There's a bunch of people who think that the letter that Biden signed saying he wasn't going to run for president again was his actual signature. But there's all kinds of other documents that were definitely signed with the auto pen at the discretion of a staffer. So what does that mean as far as laws, executive orders, memoranda, other legal documents? If it's all done by auto pen, Wayne Allen Root believes that makes them illegal. And it means that everything that was signed is null and void. And he questions who is really in charge. So I would actually go back a step further than that. We've covered this before, but there's mountains of evidence showing a massive amount of cheating in 2020. And for the people who want to argue over that, here's how you distill it down to the lowest common denominator. How do you explain Barack Obama getting 69 million votes the first time he ran, 65 million votes the second time he ran, Hillary Clinton getting 65 million votes, Kamala Harris getting 67, 68 million votes, but Joe Biden got 81 million votes that came out of nowhere and then disappeared back out of nowhere? How were there 15 million Americans who went and voted in 2020, but then decided not to go vote in 2024? The numbers don't add up. I mean, we've dived deep into the minutia and the facts. And Jeff O'Donnell, by the way, who did the series called The Fingerprints of Fraud, he's coming on in the next week or so, and he's a data scientist, and he's actually going to get down in the weeds on the 2020 election. Knows more about it than anybody else I've ever met. But suffice it to say that the administration was installed, number one. Number two, nobody in the Biden admin, and if you're a regular SDN follower, you know this, not one of them had a valid oath of office. Every single one was defective. So that means maybe it was signed, but it wasn't notarized, or it wasn't signed and it wasn't notarized, or nothing was filed whatsoever. So Todd Callender's research team FOIA'd all of this stuff. I have the PDF, 70 some odd pages long, that shows that not a single person in the Biden admin had a legitimate oath of office. I'm not an attorney. I went to Todd, who is a very well-known, notorious attorney, and said to him, what does this mean? And he said, well, they're hedging their bets that if they had a proper oath of office and they were found to have committed something like treason, they could face the stiffest of penalties. But if they didn't have a valid oath of office, they were an imposter posing as a government official, and the maximum penalty for that crime is 5 years. So maybe that's why they hedge their bets. I don't know. It's above my pay grade. But suffice it to say, you've got a stolen election. Then you have a whole bunch of people in cabinet with no oath of office. And then you have what looks like almost every single thing Biden signed was done by a staffer with the auto pen. And Wayne Allen Root seems to think that makes them null and void. I'm not an attorney. I can't speak to that, but it sure is suspicious. So in this third article, Wayne Allen Root goes on to continue asserting that Barack Obama is the man behind the curtains, running the country as unelected, shadow government, and also linking the actions taken by the Biden admin against Trump is directly tied to Obama as well. And all the indictments that were thrown at Trump, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, Obama being the one who threw open the border and all these other things. So we've shown it before. I suppose this might not be a bad time to show it again. Let me just find a diagram that we did a while ago. I'm just going to put it up here briefly. So this is the physical relationship between Susan Wright's home in D.C., Rice, pardon me, Obama's home in Kalorama, and the White House. Okay. So when Susan Rice would go to work at the White House over the past 4 years, this blue line, then this red line, then this blue line would be the way she would go to the White House. But that's not the way she went most days. Most days she cut off at Kalorama, and I don't know when, but at some point in time, there are going to be some flag officers who come forward that will attest to what I've said before and what I'm fixing to say again, that paid a lot of money to put Susan Rice and Obama under constant surveillance. And there is intel showing her on video going to Obama's home, going inside, some audio captured by, big spy devices, of course, not always clear, but there is some of it that apparently is. And Susan Rice would go in with nothing in her hands, and she'd leave with an attaché case. Then she would carry on to the White House, and she would take the attaché case inside. And based on the audio that was captured, there was some captured outside where they were standing on the front stoop. These were essentially Obama delivering, or Susan Rice delivering Obama's orders to the White House and all the people who were actually doing the day-to-day work of running the government, because it wasn't Joe Biden. Backing up a little bit from there, we're working on getting Patrick Byrne back on again. Patrick was the CEO of Overstock.com. Patrick ended up becoming a Senate Intel Committee asset. Patrick Byrne would report into John Brennan and Obama. And multiple meetings that they attended together, Patrick Byrne told me straight up, no ifs, ands, or buts, that Obama always followed Brennan, that he essentially reported into Brennan. So for those of you who want to think in global terms, WEF, George Soros, NWO, Committee of 300, whatever you want to call them, their bridge to America was through John Brennan, and John Brennan was the one who basically gave Obama marching orders through his terms of presidency, plus the shadow term that he just served. And then Obama, of course, would dispense stuff to all of the minions from there. So anyway, this is a kind of a telling thing here of how Susan Rice would go off the beaten path to get that information and then to take it to the White House. So I'll leave that up for a second while we're talking through a few more points here on the third article from Wayne Allen Root here. So CIA insider claims. Root cites a retired high-level CIA insider who provided cliff notes on Obama's alleged crimes, claiming Obama and Biden, with help from Hillary Clinton and Eric Holder, led a sedition coup to turn America into a Marxist state, harming national security. I don't know what to make of that, to be quite honest with you. I don't have any concrete evidence on that. Would it surprise me if that came out to be the truth? No, it wouldn't surprise me. But I wouldn't put my name or Survival Dispatch News on that just yet. Number 4, specific allegations. Root calls the 2020 election theft the biggest scandal, urging FBI Director Kash Patel to investigate and indict perpetrators for treason, with Obama as the central figure orchestrating it to prevent Trump's second term. So again, I'm going to let Jeff O'Donnell speak to the technical nitty-gritty on the thievery that happened in the 2020 election. But suffice it to say, if somebody wants to argue with you, just ask them, where did the 15 million votes come from and where did they disappear to? We're to believe that 15 million people came out of the woodwork in 2020, but then disappeared again in 2024. It's not a reasonable assertion on their part. Jeff, though, will tell you all about things like how the Smartmatic software from Venezuela that's been used to steal all the Venezuelan elections was used in 2020 against us. When somebody would put a vote through the machine and pop up and say, oh, that's a vote for Donald Trump, they could flip it with the push of a button and change it from Trump to Biden. And then when they hit the send button to send all their results into Edison, it would put a multiplier on it. So you have a vote for Trump, gets flipped to a vote for Biden, and then 50 votes get sent in because there's a 50x multiplier on it, that sort of thing. But Jeff O'Donnell can speak to this stuff in really fine terms. You can check out the fingerprints of crime, the movie.com, and you can watch all, I think he's got 7 or 8 parts to his docuseries on that. Broader conspiracy here. So Wayne Allen Root ties Obama to what he calls a communist cabal that used Biden as a puppet, opened borders to flood America with illegal immigrants, and aimed to secure permanent Democratic power, potentially even positioning Michelle Obama for 2024. So back to Patrick Byrne again, okay? So Patrick Byrne, while he was a Senate Intel Committee asset, goes into a meeting with John Brennan and Obama and says, hey, I was just made aware that the government in Turkey bribed Hillary Clinton with $20 million when she was the Secretary of State. So they looked at what Patrick brought and said, this is really good stuff. But if we're going to go after her, we've got to have more evidence. So we're going to put $18 million in this bank account for you. And we want you to orchestrate another bribe for Hillary. And he did. And she took the 18 million. And essentially what happened is they all ended up in a meeting, including Hillary. And Brennan and Obama said, here's the deal. We have this evidence of you taking these 2 bribes to the tune of $38 million. And you are going to do exactly what we tell you to do. So you are going to be the president for 8 years, starting in 2016. And then after those 2 terms, Michelle Obama will be the next candidate. Of course, that didn't happen because her and Barack have gone Splitsville. But anyway, the exact words used, according to Patrick Byrne, were that we are going to put a Bunsen burner under your ass. And if you're a good girl, we'll keep the flame low. And if you're a bad girl, we'll turn the flame up. So if you remember, right up to the 2020 election, people would say to Hillary, you know, what are your feelings going into election night and everything? I'm not worried. I don't care what the polls say. And then there were other legacy media polls that said things like Hillary Clinton, 99% chance of winning the election, blah, 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 blah. Because she knew that there was going to be cheating happening to supposedly assure her of 2 back-to-back terms. However, they did not anticipate the tsunami of votes for Donald Trump, and he broke their program, so to speak. That's why when we get into 2020, they just brought it all. They brought cheating from every angle you can imagine. So you had electronic voting machines that were rigged. You had suitcases of votes for Biden, but nobody downstream on any of those. You had Donald Trump ballots thrown in the trash. You had these weird jumps in the middle of the night that are statistically impossible. Like 200,000 votes come in by paper, and every last one of them was for Biden, and there was 0 for Trump. Even in the bluest of districts, that's mathematically impossible. So anyway, at the end of the day, those are the 3 articles from Wayne Allen Root. Now, I want to mention a couple other things. I would love to play the video of Barack Obama when he was on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, right? So in that video, he says, you know, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I would be fine with that. And that was November 2020. And if you look this up, I can't play the video because every single time I've played that snippet of the video, we get hit with a copyright infringement claim from NBC and they nuke our video, which is why I'm just reading you basically what was said. But if you look up anybody like Snopes or any of these other left-leaning, so-called truth checkers, they all say, oh, well, it was obvious. Obama was just joking. He wasn't being serious. No, that's not the case. He's not a stupid guy. Anything he says with, confidence and speak, again, very articulate, very intelligent. So if somebody thinks that you could just kind of, whatever. It was just a joke on Obama's part. It was not a joke on Obama's part. And unfortunately, it came to fruition. So I'm going to play a 44-second clip here of Obama. This is, by the way, this is just this past election season. I think it was like 2 weeks before the election. And he knows that the very fine people thing was a hoax. He was the one who perpetuated the hoax. But it's been proven time and again that the Democrats and the legacy media edited the footage of Trump to make it sound like he was saying that there were fine people amongst these white supremacists, which was not the case. And that's not what he said. It's a hoax. It's been proven a hoax multiple times. Even Snopes will tell you that it's a hoax. Go to Snopes.com, look up very fine people hoax. They'll tell you straight up it was a hoax. But here's Obama campaigning for Kamala a couple weeks before the last election, and he's still repeating the same lie. 44 seconds.
Maybe you're Muslim American or Jewish American, and you are heartbroken and furious about the ongoing bloodshed in the Middle East and worried about the rise of anti-Semitism. Why would you place your faith in somebody who instituted a so-called Muslim Day, who sat down for pleasantries with Holocaust deniers, who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally?
Straight up hoax. Like I said, go to Snopes.com, punch in very fine people hoax, and they'll tell you that it was 100% a hoax. So that's the end of chapter 1 on Wayne Allen Root's recent three-part series on all roads leading to Obama. Again, if you go to patreon.com/survival dispatch, you can grab the sit rep 7 days a week that has links to everything that we've shown. If I only showed part of a video, you can get the link to watch them all. And there's extended content in there, by the way, that does not get played online because we're broadcasting to 8 different platforms, and YouTube in particular, but Facebook as well, are still a problem, and they will nuke any of our content if we don't toe the line on certain narratives. So we have to be careful with that stuff. Regardless, I've got a very short message from our friends at Sawyer Products, and I'll be right back.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All right, so we're into chapter 2 now. We've got somewhere around a dozen other headline stories to bring you up to speed on. And the first one, as Gunther Eagleman says, the Trump effect. So CNN essentially had to report that the core inflation rate, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, were better than expected last month, and actually give some credit where it's due to Trump. It's a 41-second video.
Finally, we have some good news on the economy and really the number one issue for many Americans, the cost of living. So we just learned that consumer prices in February increased by 2.8% year over year, 0.2% month over month. Both of these figures were a step in the right direction, and both were better than expected. So this is definitely very encouraging to see, because it's going to, I think, relieve some fears that inflation was perhaps re-accelerated, because this actually breaks a streak of 4 straight months where I think you can see it on the chart all the way to the right, where the inflation rate was going in the wrong direction, right? It was going higher and higher. Finally, we're seeing it dip. Finally, we have some good.
All right. So it's a glorious thing when you actually see CNN of all networks giving good news as it relates to Trump. And here's another post from Benny Johnson. February CPI inflation dropped to 2.8% versus the expectation of 2.9%. Core CPI inflation, that's a contradiction in terms. There's no such thing as core CPI inflation. There's core inflation, which was invented by some administration years ago and has been used by the Republicans, Democrats to bullshit us. The core inflation rate does not include food, fuel, and housing, the three things that wreck people's paycheck, like eat your entire paycheck sort of thing. And they came up with it so that, again, they could give you bullshit numbers. Now, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, is essentially core inflation, including food, fuel, and housing. However, if any of the items in the CPI are something that, say, spikes and was enough to pull the whole index up, it's not uncommon for administrations to get rid of that. Last June, coffee beans spiked 29%. So guess what happened the next month when they published CPI numbers? And we're going to take coffee out of the equation because it skewed the numbers. Of course, it showed the numbers up high, basically. So moving on to the next one, U.S. gasoline prices dropped to lowest March level since March 2021 as inflation comes in lower than expected. So this number came from Gas Buddy, by the way, and this is a national average. And we've been noticing that fuel prices have been declining here. We had a conversation with some of y'all in the live chat last night. I think $2.39 a gallon in Texas. It was $2.84 in Palm Coast, Florida yesterday. Kind of all those prices in between. I think Oregon was the highest. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but at the end of the day, the average number is coming down. This is not complicated. This is not rocket science. When the Biden admin refused to renew oil leases on federal land or issue new oil leases on federal land and shut down pipelines like Keystone XL, that meant that we went from being self-sufficient back to having to import oil from other countries. And that in turn drove prices up to very high levels. And when the fuel prices went up, everything else went up with it because it cost more money to ship goods, whether it's plane, train, or truck sort of thing. So anyway, fuel prices coming down, important stuff. So this is kind of interesting timing here. So that March 11th, this was yesterday. And this chart shows the shipbuilding capacity of China, South Korea, Japan, and a whole bunch of other countries. Okay. So for historical context, one of the biggest reasons that we won World War II is because of our industrial capacity. So we switched from typewriter factories making typewriters to making guns. We switched from textile companies making shirts and things like that to making parachutes. The big three automakers only made military vehicles, no consumer vehicles during the war. And we turned that up and we turned it on, and we had a huge advantage over our adversaries. Well, now, if you look at this, we account for 0.1% of global shipbuilding. Chinese account for 53.3%, South Koreans 29.1%, Japan even 13.1%, and then all of these smaller players like us over here. So think for a minute that if China was able to attack our aircraft carrier fleet successfully with hypersonic weapons, we would not be able to replace those ships fast enough to control the waters. And whoever controls the waters that can take aircraft carriers around, essentially moving a piece of land, for lack of a better term, and putting it on somebody's doorstep, we could not recover from that. So Pete Hegseth is on record many times saying every time that our military war games out computer simulations of us versus China, China wins every single time. Now, their ships may not be at the quality that our ships are, but we have no capacity to do this. And I've brought it up a couple times on SDN, and it's just ironic that it showed up when I went to bed last night and I'm flicking through X. It came up and I saved it for today. So moving on from there, Trump National Greenland. The retarded leftists are going to hate this. So there was an election yesterday in Greenland, and they don't have a very big legislature. I want to say there's like 31 seats maybe. And there's a party that had 4 seats, went to 8 seats, but they were second in the overall election. But that party's conservative, and that party is the one who's in favor of some sort of closer cooperation with America. Myself, I think whether you're talking Greenland or any other, territory, that the path of least resistance is to bring them in as a territory as opposed to a state. That way they can keep their own, government form, traditions, culture, whatever. So it's not as threatening to them. But if Greenland was a territory of the United States, I want to say there's 55,000 people on the island. If you gave each of them $1 million, it'd be like $5.5 billion, and their cost of living is low. Most of them probably be set for life, but we would be able to protect shipping lanes instead of just going east-west, but it being able to go over the North Pole to get around to the other side of the world. And the Russians, of course, are dead set against us taking control of Greenland. I don't know that there's any significant chance that we will be able to convince Canada to become a territory. They've done a pretty good job with their government-run media of convincing people that Donald Trump wants to take over America or Canada and do all sorts of horrible things, and he doesn't, but that's the way it's been framed. Anyway, Charlie Kirk has some good comments on this. Good news from Greenland. Elections were held yesterday, and NALRAC, a nationalist party that has the most pro-USA politicians in Greenland, had its best ever result and doubled its overall support. Greenland's legislature is strictly proportional, and a conservative, more pro-Denmark, more pro-gradual independence party got first overall. So they are a long way from joining America, but things are headed in the right direction. Greenland has the right to decide its own future, but our message from America is this: we want to partner with you, and it will make both of our nations richer, happier, and more secure. And you may recall that Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump Jr. went to Greenland not too long ago, and they got a great reception while they were there. I don't think anything imminent is going to happen here. Is there a possibility something happens during Trump's term? Yeah. What's the most likely outcome if something happens? A territory like Puerto Rico, not the 51st state. But right here you can see in this graphic, right, the second party went from 4 seats to 8 seats. But there's other parties that have more seats. And I'm not sure if they have some sort of coalition government there or what, but suffice to say, Charlie Kirk did a good job, because I saw some other people on X saying, oh, the pro-USA party won the election in Greenland, they're going to become our territory. And that's not true. That's not what happened. They did much better. So it's good news, but not enough to sign on the dotted line. All right, next one up. At a closed-door gathering with CEOs of companies like Kellogg's, Smuckers, and General Mills, RFK Jr. demanded an end to artificial food dyes. Secretary made clear his intention to take action unless the industry is willing to be proactive with solutions. So I can't remember the exact ingredients, but if you take Fruit Loops and you look at what's in the box in America, there's all these food dyes that are supposedly linked to different forms of cancer and other ailments. And then when you look at the ones that are made in Canada or other countries where they're not allowed to put this stuff in the food, the coloring comes from things like blueberries and raspberries and things like that. So RFK Jr. is on the right path here. Getting the toxic soup of chemicals out of our food may just end up being his legacy, which is an incredible legacy for that matter. All right, next one up. So last week we had 4 mayors: Eric Adams from New York, Michelle Wu from Boston, Brendan Johnson from Chicago, and Michael Johnson from Denver. And so Michelle Wu from Boston is back on the news circuit. And she flat out says, we're releasing people wanted by ICE because they're not getting warrants. So she wants ICE to go get a warrant to put an ICE detainer on a criminal who's an illegal alien, but has committed criminal acts beyond just breaking into the country. And she says if ICE doesn't go and get the warrants, then her city is not going to help with these people at all. I personally think the inside bet we've had going on this at SDN is that if she's not the top candidate to be hammered by Tom Homan, she's dang close to it. Her and AOC, I'd say, are kind of neck and neck, but Brendan Johnson, Mike Johnson are not too far behind. I don't think we would see Eric Adams arrested for harboring illegals. He wants out of it. He doesn't want to spend another $6.9 billion on illegals that only pisses off his own residents of his city. Anyway, suffice it to say, we'll be keeping our eyes open on this particular topic, because my personal feeling is these hardcore left-wing woke progressives like her, they've never been held accountable for any of their anti-American policies, like, shielding illegal aliens, especially criminal illegal aliens. And it's going to take, one or two of them to get put in prison, tried, convicted, and imprisoned, maybe to wake the rest of them up to say, this might not be the best idea after all, but we shall see. All right, next one up. So from Diane, oh my God, this is disgusting, and it happened in Sweden, and the sentence was only 200 hours of community service. This is actually really quite brutal. So this world is ugly, too ugly and too destructive, and this country will become just as bad if we don't get these leftist lunatics out of America. So the question from the silent majority with a British Union Jack here, aren't you sick of this? These are the blood-stained clothes of a Swedish girl who was raped by an Islamic gang of men for hours at gunpoint. The girl's vagina ruptured, and she was in danger of bleeding to death, court documents found. The wound was likely caused by a gun being inserted into her vagina. Doctors and medical staff said they'd never seen injuries like this before in their entire careers. The gang of 5 men was sentenced to a total of 200 hours community service. And this is yesterday's news. That's incomprehensible. I mean, how do you accept criminals, whether they're illegal invaders or not, doing this to a girl and they get community service? The world has lost its mind. And the reason that we cover stuff like this is because what happens in other countries is a harbinger of things to come here, or at least things they're going to try. Now, we're in much better shape now that Trump's in office, but let's say Trump wasn't in office, you would see the same sort of stuff like that just continue to ramp up here in America. Hopefully, Donald Trump follows through on codifying, or Congress codifies his executive orders into law so they're not so easily overturned next time. I mean, it's a super high priority for him. And we mentioned it. We've defended Donald Trump on that over the past couple months, because he's flat out stated, I don't want all these changes to stay executive orders that can be easily overturned. All right, next one. So here's the doom and gloom stuff from the Democrats in the past, right? Remember, a shutdown is very serious business. Here is a supercut of every Democrat telling you how catastrophic it would be to shut down the government. It would be irresponsible. Remember that when they try to do it, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to play the whole thing. Again, this is political theater. It's fodder for legacy media to capture your attention. The world's not coming to an end if the government is quote unquote shut down, because they're not shut down. All the essential people are not allowed to leave. They have to stay there and work. And it's not the end of the world, not even close to it. So let's hear what the Democrats have said in the past, because now the reason this is pertinent is Democrats now are trying to shut down the government because they don't agree with Doge and Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera.
Believe in governance. We want to keep governments open. A shutdown is very serious.
There are real consequences when the government shuts down. It harms our national security, it harms our economy, and it harms service members, veterans, retirees, and vulnerable communities.
We all know a shutdown is unnecessary and completely avoidable.
The tragedy here is all the civilian employees. It is the American people who are going to suffer.
Border Patrol agents will not be paid. TSA agents will not be paid. Small businesses will be hurt.
Not only is it irresponsible and purposely misleading, it is dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown.
I'm worried about our air controllers, those in the military. We have over almost 40,000 in the military, as well as personnel who work in the military, and they won't have checks. I mean, this is real.
The real people's lives at stake.
It is not normal to hold 800,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
Our troops deserve better. Our children deserve better. And the American people deserve better.
So there you have it. The people currently trying to shut down the government have said on the record many, many times that you don't want to do that. The world will cave in. Terrible, terrible things will happen. All right. Alina Haba says truckload of Epstein documents are under review and prosecutions are coming. Going through it when you want prosecutions, you have to save integrity of the investigation to bring justice. Transparency is coming. Make sure we don't put children in danger. It's 2.5 minutes long. I'll probably play about half of it.
Just wanted to touch on when it comes to pederasts and prosecuting them and the people who are related to them or were in league with them. Ghislaine Maxwell is the only person that's ever done any time for this Epstein, for Epstein. I guess the American people, like Pam Bondi, seemed furious in her letter to Kash Patel about the FBI withholding evidence from her on Epstein. Apparently, according to her words, there's a truckload of new evidence. Any updates on that?
It's funny. I actually just asked about this and where it's at. And I just want to say, I understand and hear the American people's, ask. And sometimes they mistakenly put it on me, and that's fine. I'm part of the administration. But I will say that I personally have checked in. They are going through it. You have to be patient, because when you are wanting to prosecute and actually do something with the information that you have to make sure that you save the integrity of the investigation so that we can bring these people to justice, so that we can hold grand juries, so that we can do certain things. You have to be careful. The value for the American people to know immediately would undercut, we have to do it. We have to expose it. We're going to be transparent 100%. But we also have to make sure we're not putting any children in danger, putting any minors that don't want and do not deserve to be publicly identified in danger, and making sure that we put forth the information that would still assist us in getting these individuals to justice. It's such a convoluted thing, but I will tell you, transparency is 100% coming. We did get a ton of documents.
All right, so I'll stop it there. So I'm not an attorney, and I get that you have to preserve the sanctity of this stuff to get charges to actually stick. I think the one thing that bothers me right now over this delay on Epstein and Diddy, et cetera, JFK, is that we've been told that they have to redact the documents so that Israel's national security isn't compromised. I disagree with that vehemently. I'm not pro-Hamas. I'm not pro-Israel. I'm not pro any of that crap. They've been fighting each other since Christ was a cowboy, and I don't really give a shit what they do over there, which is my point. I want to know what's going on here with our government in America as far as these horrible stories are concerned, like Epstein and Diddy. And if Israel's doing something, some level of involvement, and by revealing that, it hurts them, pardon my French, but too fucking bad. We deserve to have legitimate charges filed. We deserve to have legitimate information given to us and not just behind closed doors. And if Israel is truly involved at that level, which I believe they are, somebody accused me recently, said, "Oh, you're just figuring this out with regards to Israel." I'm like, fuck no, I'm not just figuring it out, but I don't really give a shit about them. I don't care about any of that crap over there. I care about here, Americans here. You can't look after yourself. You sure as heck can't look after anybody else. I care about our homeless veterans. I care about our veterans committing suicide. And it's not 21 a day. That number was given out years ago, and for some reason it stuck. It's more like 40 or 50 veterans a day. I care about homeless people. I care about people from Hurricane Helene to Los Angeles and all points in between getting their life put back together again. Let them do whatever the hell they're doing over there. So if Israel pays a price because we're told the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, too fucking bad. They shouldn't have done it in the first place then. All right, moving on from there. We're telling people they can cut off their healthy body parts. They can mutilate and sterilize their bodies, and their mental health is supposed to get better. Yeah, 36 seconds. All of this body dysmorphia, transgender, cut your junk off, take the hormones and you can become the other sex is ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It's a mental illness. And by telling us that we have to play along with it, it's like we're being told we have to participate in their psychopathy, which many of us aren't going to do. You know, somebody said right after the election, okay, well, y'all on the right. And I said, whoa, time out. We are libertarians, lowercase l, conservative, patriots, Christians. We're not Republican or anything like that. Well, we think that you should extend an olive branch to the left and, you know, make this thing smoother. Not going to happen. When you start telling people they can cut their junk off and become the other sex, and there's 378, you know, bullshit genders, there's no you can't reconcile with that. There is no reconciliation. We now have to fix our country by not agreeing with that and stamping that shit out. It's ridiculous. 36-second video.
Here, Sophia, trans surgeries increase risk of mental health conditions, suicidal ideations. You know, Gavin Newsom's thing, he said, we also have to be aware of the mental health of these transgender people. Well, the mental health after you get surgery appears to be detrimental.
Well, it's no shock that the mental health gets worse. We're telling people they can cut off their healthy body parts, they can mutilate and sterilize their bodies, and their mental health is supposed to get better. I mean, President Trump said it best, God made no mistake in how he made us, and so we need to follow that.
Yeah, and interestingly, the Fox News headline reads the following here, Riley Gaines. It says here, so.
All right, and of course, Riley Gaines is on the right side of this as well. So that was the last headline from chapter 2. So we're getting ready to go into chapter 3. I want to just quickly mention one sponsor and another company that sent us some stuff. So first things first. So I haven't mentioned it recently, but we of course still work with Native Path, Native Hydrate here. So these are branched chain amino acids. There's all kinds of BCAAs out there. I've been taking them for years, and most of the time they taste like crap, and they have extra crap put in them as well. They're not entirely healthy. My wife is a health nut, and these are the best tasting branched chain amino acids I've tried, bar none. If you are addicted to sodas and you stop drinking sodas tomorrow and you start drinking this instead, I will guarantee you, I personally guarantee you, within 24 hours, you will have more energy because you won't have the sugar spike and the sugar fall. So you can check these guys out. If you go to nativehydrate.com/dispatch, you get all kinds of discounts, like upwards of even 44% off if you buy X amount of months worth of it. It's a really good deal. It's a really good product. We really appreciate when you support our sponsors. They help us to pay the bills. And if we don't have help paying the bills, we can't spend countless hours producing content for y'all. And at the end of the day, our mission is to dispatch information to our fellow Americans and friends of America so y'all can survive in these very uncertain times. Now, here's the next thing I want to show you. This little guy is from a company called Dark Energy. So I'll just unplug this quickly here. So this is pretty neat. So look how small this is. And it opens up like that. This is an 8-watt solar panel that weighs virtually next to nothing. Okay. And the other thing is when you put it out in the sun, it gets really malleable. It's really flexible sort of thing. And on this end here, there are indicators on what the strength of the sunlight is. So if I set it out this afternoon on the table, and I've got some videos of it, and I let it sit perfectly flat like this, it was charging at half capacity. It was two lights lit up, which would be 4 watts. As soon as I propped it up like this, and I put this little battery pack underneath it, it immediately went to 3. And the charging from that, so there's 2 USB ports on the back. There's USB-C, USB-A. These things, by the way, snap together. And the other cool thing you'll notice is that they have these slots that are cut in it. And that is so you can actually attach this to any MOLLE attachments you might have on a backpack, a chest rig, whatever the case may be. So you can charge your stuff while you're hiking and on the move. And they also sent us this little battery pack, which surprisingly enough has 3,000 milliamp hours capacity, which is pretty good in this small of a form factor. Of course, it comes with a USB cable that you can plug into the mini solar panel as well. And as you can see, it'll do cordless charging, or you can just plug the USB-C into your phone or device. So if you're going off grid and your phone is hunting for a cell phone signal and it's hard on the battery, and you have this on your backpack and it's charging this up, You can plug your phone into it and probably make it through the entire day without your battery being killed. These guys are not a sponsor. I don't have any affiliate code, any discounts, anything like that. But the company's name is Dark Energy, and I really appreciate them. They sent us a couple of these. It's a really nifty product. Check them out. Dark Energy. All right. That's it for that. And we are ready to rock and roll with chapter 3. So chapter 3, for people who are new, zany stories, memes, funny stuff, etc., etc. This first one I've seen before. We have not played this in quite a while on SDN, but I'm playing it as a reminder. So you got to listen to this really, really carefully. So this is essentially 5 years after 9/11, George W. It's 1 minute and 16 seconds. I'm going to play the whole thing. Listen very carefully to what he says in this video. It's really important.
Pause to mark the 5th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. The information that the Central Intelligence Agency has obtained by questioning men like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed has provided valuable information and has helped disrupt terrorist plots, including strikes within the United States. For example, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed described the design of planned attacks on buildings inside the U.S. and how operatives were directed to carry them out. That is valuable information for those of us who have the responsibility to protect the American people. He told us the operatives had been instructed to ensure that the explosives went off at a point that was high enough to prevent people trapped above from escaping.
In case y'all didn't hear that, I'm going to back it up. But these operatives were instructed to make sure that the explosives in the trade centers were at such a level that they would trap everybody above that point from getting down and escaping the towers. Keep in mind, 3 World Trade Center buildings went down. 2 were hit by planes. They all look like professional demolitions. And George W., I believe, let the cat out of the bag here. This is not a spoof. It's not fake. It's not AI driven. I'm just going to play that last bit just one more time.
To prevent people trapped above from escaping. They have been instructed to ensure that the explosives went off at a point that was high enough to prevent people trapped above from escaping. He told us the operatives had been instructed to ensure that the explosives went off at a point that was high enough to prevent people trapped above from escaping.
So let's do a quick audience poll since we're in chapter 3 here. If you think that the World Trade Center buildings were brought down by explosives, put a 1 in the comments, the live chat. And if you think that all 3 buildings came down because of 2 airplanes, put a 2 in the comments. Curious to see what the consensus is amongst y'all out there. All right, moving on to the next one. From Gunther Eagleman, update 191 billion saved thanks to Doge so far. And it's pretty big numbers. Elon has said that it's going to end up in the trillions. So we're still a ways off from that, but definitely moving in the right direction. All right, next one up. This is too funny. For the love of God, arrest somebody, Pam. All of us are waiting for Epstein charges, etc. All right, next one up. Hillary is a pro. Bleach bit to wipe hard drives, hammers to smash Blackberries, gather info to extort principals, monetize info gathered, fire to destroy source docs, uses mainstream media to attack adversaries, assassination team to clean up loose ends. All right, next one up. Liawatha and Bernie, be transparent, show us your income. Fine. Now it's your turn. No. That would be fascism. It's good for thee, but not for me. Routine from them. All right, next one up here. All right, so this video taken in France, and the person's caption says, Macron's France has become the 55th African state. I'm just going to play a couple seconds. All right, that's enough of that. Next one up. This woman says it's open season on CEOs. What sort of crazy is this? And as per usual, look at the eyes.
Has anyone heard? CEO posters are being plastered everywhere with wanted signs. Yeah. Evidently, it looks like it's going to be open season on CEOs. God bless America.
Wow. How crazy is that? It's very crazy. Takes more SSRIs. Check this one out. He's going straight to prison. This guy's got quite the punch on him. 17 seconds. Damn. Oh, shit. Yeah, that's not good. Not good at all. All right, next one up. Here's some of the transgender insanity front and center.
Yesterday, I had the absolute audacity to say, I don't care how many executive orders you sign, you still don't get to tell me who I am. Yesterday, I had the absolute audacity of saying, I don't care if you're elected to the highest station in the world, you still don't get to tell me who I am. Yesterday, I had the absolute audacity of saying, I don't care how much money you have, you still don't get to tell me who I am.
So today, my gender is the absolute audacity.
Yep, crazy is strong with that one. Oh, wow, President Trump should sue her. So this is Canadian Green Party leader Elizabeth May.
We need to have a government that remains solid. Team Canada can say to Donald Trump, go pound sand, go suck eggs. Although, as I said, I now realize there's a tariff on sand, and they may not be able to afford eggs. It reminds me of his attitude towards women. He's a serial misogynist, sexual abuser, rapist. He's in the White House. What does he want to do? Take Greenland out to buy expensive furniture? Take Greenland into the dressing room? I'm sorry, every time I hear Trump saying he's going to get something one way or another of another sovereign nation, in my head I'm hearing, yeah, I just grab him by the... I wouldn't put it past Trump at all. I mean, we've seen Musk interfere in the German elections to support neo-Nazis.
Outlandish claims. Absolutely outlandish. All right, so speaking of outlandish, check this out. Somebody fixed Rosie O'Donnell here.
And when, it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights there in America, that's when we will consider coming back. And when...
I don't know about y'all, but she doesn't need to come back. She can just stay wherever. All right, next one up. So here's, Conservative Diva says, any words for this mouthy little punk who is here illegally? This is like the balls bigger than the brain syndrome.
What's up, fool? What you looking at, fool? What would you do if I pull up to your block, fool? That's why I thought you won't do nothing, fool. You're just scared of me, fool. Cause I'm a crazy vato, fool, and I'm really out here in these streets, fool. Alright, fool?
Wow. But we should allow all the illegals into the country who want to come and join us, right? All right, next one up. Why do masculine lesbians always adopt the style of a 13-year-old upper middle class Hispanic boy with divorced parents? Yeah, all right. So let's check in on what taxpayers are funding today via subsidized housing, Section 8.
Oh
And that's enough of that craziness. Next one up. Yes, this is AI. It was a video that was AI altered to show Harry Sissons, his new girlfriend, showing off his new girlfriend. Yeah, that's about it too. So if you think that that dude named Harry is a retarded fag, per I find retards and the guy who finds fags, put a 1 in the chat. But if you think he's not, he's normal heterosexual dude, put a 2 in the chat. And the 1s start already. All right, next one up. Yeah, I can't even give you any commentary on this. I just got to play it.
I'll go out to eat with you and I'll like chill with you a little bit and then I'm going home. Ain't doing nothing else. Your shit is your shit. My shit is my motherfucking shit. Yeah, because we ain't living my mule forever, honey. Yeah, because that pink bedroom set is going to look very nice in a bedroom by itself. Yeah, because I already got shit planned. Like, I can't wait to have the white walls with the pink bedroom set. Stop playing with a bitch. Like, I'll even paint the whole house pink. Don't fucking play with me.
Yeah. Alrighty then. Next one up. She found out. I remember when this happened. There's a longer video to this.
Близко не подходи. Я тебя еще раз предупреждаю, сделаешь шаг, я тебя залью перцовым баллоном.
Yeah. Good times. All right. Next one up. This is pretty funny. He thought dancing would stop the confrontation. He thought wrong. And it's not this dude here. It's another dude that's fixing to come into the frame.
Well, if you're going to stand in between riders and cops, you should expect friendly fire from both sides, from the back of the dome to the front of his soy titties. And now walking away like a war victim in a movie and takes a shot to the admiral. Involuntarily cut blocks the rock. He now enters the walk of shame with a little bit of pain. Come on, man, you're old enough to know better than this.
Yeah. Oh, man, this next one, John sent me this. This is brutal, man. The second one saw his soul leave his body. No kidding.
There you go. That's it. Breathe. Breath in and out. Just adjust it all.
Hands together a little fatter. That one feels good. How's that?
Yeah, I'm taking a hard pass on that. I don't know about y'all, but it doesn't look like a good time. Oh, and it's too bad John wasn't with us tonight. Check this out. Best photo bomb ever. A10 Warthog in the background. Beautiful. And this would be Democrat Barbie. Yes, it would. Oh my God. I saw this. Y'all have to see this as well. In an attempt to avoid Donald Trump, Rosie O'Donnell was spotted migrating to Canada. Isn't that special? All right. A country run by banks will always be in debt. Healthcare run by big pharma will never cure disease. A state run by war will never know peace. A nation run by media will never know the truth. True story. And I'm guessing that y'all have seen all the memes with JD Vance in them. So Beard Vet says, it's really no surprise. The most famous philosophers have a beard, is it? I've seen some that are pretty funny, actually. All right. And in case y'all didn't catch it, the Amish Powerball is up to 4 dozen eggs. Right on. And there is absolutely no reason for a child his age to have a cell phone. But what looks like a Glock 19 is okay, I guess. And popular vote by millions. So we touched on this during chapter 1 tonight. 69 million for Obama, 65 million for Obama, 65 million for Hillary, 68 million for Kamala, but 81 million mystery votes, 15 million on average mystery votes show up out of nowhere for Joe Biden in 2020. Yeah, did not happen. All right, this next one here shows you why you need bowling shoes. And next one up. Chapter 3 wouldn't be complete if some didn't have something with animals. This one's pretty good. Minute, 10 seconds. Buddies. All right, next one up. Caption is "Ain't no way."
Shit going up on the block, me king.
Oh, shit, nigga. God damn. Nigga. What the fuck is going on, bro? Whoa, I'm fucking leaving.
Crazy. All right. TikToker says that the spells witches are trying to cast on President Trump aren't working and they should target Elon Musk instead. Seems totally normal and stable.
Just FYI, the witches who practice the craft and are really disappointed that nothing works on the orange Palpatine because he's protected by an egregore. I want to make sure that you know that even though he is protected by an egregore, which doesn't really work for him anymore, if you ask me, but Illuminia Muskrat and the Coach Boy doesn't have egregores. And the Palpatine's egregore will not protect these other two. You know what to do now. All right, good luck.
Yeah. All right. Next one up. Maybe this is why ABC is laying people off. Americans are not buying the propaganda anymore. ABC World News Tonight doing their best to incite violence against Elon Musk.
President Trump breaking his silence on the market chaos today, saying it doesn't concern him. He did express concern for Elon Musk at the White House, whose Tesla stock has plunged 39% so far this year. The president working to try to boost the sales of Teslas, with Teslas right there parked in front of the White House. Across this country tonight, many Americans and many small business owners are growing more concerned over the stock market, the tariffs, and where this goes from here.
Standing next to the world's richest man and the architect of his plan to lay off tens of thousands of American workers, President Trump tonight dismissing the turmoil on Wall Street that sent stocks plunging nearly 500 points today. Trump today dismissing the concerns of many Americans deeply unsettled by his new trade war. But he expressed support and compassion for Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, whose Tesla stock has tanked 39% so far this year. Musk's company losing about $700 billion in market value. The president today inviting Musk to pitch his luxury cars on the White House lawn, announcing he's buying one himself.
What's your best of these cars? What do you think?
Well, the car that I drive is the Model S.
Which is that one?
The red one.
I like that.
Yeah.
But while Trump was boosting Musk at the White House, on Main Street, many American small businesses now bracing for the next phase in the president's trade war.
All righty, next one up. So let's see something in the comments here. Has anybody got an answer to this? Anyone want to give this band a name? Wow. Morning Joe, Mark Cuban, and that faggy guy with the pipe cleaners for arms. Let's see what y'all got in the comment section. People are just putting ones. Does that mean you think they're all dudes or fags or something? Too funny. All right, next one up. Why?
Hold on. Oh, son of a motherfuck, shit, fuck, Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, why is indeed the question. Crazy. All right, egg prices are dropping. Turns out if you stop killing chickens, they lay more eggs. Gas prices are dropping too. Imagine that. All right, Rashida Tlaib, the lone no in a 402-1 vote to stop Mexican cartels tunneling drugs into the U.S. Everyone else gets it. Cartels are a plague, but not Rashida. Too busy grandstanding to fight fentanyl and crime. Pathetic. That's an understatement. All right, next one up. This one's another dog video, and it's freaking funny. This pup has mastered the skill with impeccable finesse. Well, that is funny. Right on. All right, and the next one up here. This is absolutely mind-blowing. Check out how this woman brilliantly breaks down and perfectly explains what Doge is up to.
What the hell is really wrong with some of you people? All you people that are really mad at Doge for finding all this money, and you actually believe the politicians that say, oh, the billions are fine, and it's not that much money. I broke it down so maybe you could understand it a little bit better. If I gave you $1 million and I told you I wanted you to spend $1,000 every single day until that $1 billion was completely gone, how long do you think you'd have to live in order to spend that $1 billion? 2,740 years before you spent all of the money. You could have started when the Roman Empire was ready to fall, and you'd still be spending that money today. And I broke it down, in case you didn't understand that, I broke it down a little more, so maybe you can understand it a little better. The average human being lives approximately 77 years. Approximately. If I wanted you to spend $1 billion, all of it, in that 77 years that you're on this earth, how much money do you think you'd have to spend every single day to make sure it's all gone before you're gone? $35,580 every single day. Wouldn't that be horrible? Oh man, I gotta spend $35,000 today to reach my goal by the time I'm 77 years old. So the next time a politician says, the billions of dollars that Doge is finding, it's not really that much money. Wake up, America.
Good job. She did a really good job there. All right. Lisa Slotkin is acting like a petulant, angry teenager without a fully formed brain. Democrats are funny. I wonder if she thinks coming to America illegally is a crime.
Right. I think there's a feeling in the country, and I often say this, we're about to turn 250 years old, right? We're still pretty young for a country. These are our like our angry teenage years, right? We are going through this push and pull where we're happy, we're sad, we want this, we want that. And what do you do when you have a teenager who's threatening themselves and others? You just try to get them through this period alive so that their brain can fully form and you can come back to kind of what a country. Trump? No, I'm talking about our country. We're pendulum swinging. We're pendulum swinging. And so for me, I think that I don't think there's a single American who feels like this is normal.
All right, next one up. Tucker Carlson, American officials on the payroll of Mexican cartels. Colonel McGregor, yes. So I only caught part of that podcast, and I've got to watch it a little bit more. But that's a pretty crazy accusation, pretty crazy if it's true, and I have no reason to suspect it's not. But wow. All right, Mommy, I think I'm a boy. Well, you're not. It's really that simple. Yes, it is. All right. Do you know how to tell when a Democrat is lying? When their lips are moving. There's a lot of truth in that saying.
The Democratic elite are always trying to say how we spread misinformation. Well, I have news for you. It's not misinformation that we spread. It's missing information. Information that they're trying to hide. Information that they don't want getting out to the public because they don't want the public to know the truth. Because when the public knows the truth, then the public makes informed decisions about the future of our nation. And they can't have that because they want total and utter control. And they know when people make informed consent decisions, they will usually side on the side of the people, not the establishment. So keep spreading that missing information.
All right, next one up. In 1994, we spent $7.5 million researching a gay bomb. $17 million when adjusted for inflation. Air Force looked at spray to turn enemy gay. June 2007. That's pretty crazy stuff. Does anybody out there have any experience with this, spraying our adversaries to turn them gay? All right. Remember that time you said the Steele dossier was credible and Hunter's laptop wasn't? That was awesome. ABC, NBC, CNN, New York Times, all the typical legacy media propaganda machines. All right, next one up, pretty freaking cool. I'm sure Velcro would dig this. Imagine being a World War I soldier in the trenches, and out of nowhere, this appears in the sky. You wouldn't think it's technology. You'd think the aliens had finally arrived. That is pretty amazing. No other way to state that. Unbelievable. All right. In my humble opinion, this is treason. Arrest them immediately. USAID's gone full shred and burn mode on sensitive docs, like they're auctioning for Trump's next bonfire party. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. Minute and 28.
This is insane. The USAID has gone into full freakout mode. Several staffers this morning reported receiving an email telling them to shred and burn sensitive documents. In the email sent by the USAID's acting executive secretary, Erica Carr, it says, quote, shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break. If you need to use the burn bags, do not overfill and ensure the burn bag can be closed with staples at the top. The only labeling required on the burn bags are the word secret and USAID B-IO in dark Sharpie if possible. If you need additional burn bags or Sharpie markers, please let me or the SEC InfoSec team know. It's also important to note that the email told them to clear out classified safes as well. First of all, why are there documents in safes to begin with? But also, when you look at the timing of this, the whole thing is very suspicious. The Trump administration is currently under legal fire for trying to shut down the agency, and experts say that this level of document destruction usually happens when an embassy is under attack, not an office building in DC. Which I think leads everybody to the same conclusion. What are they trying to hide? As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this. Down below.
Well, I think it's easy to figure out what they were trying to hide. Fraud. I mean, it's one of those things where it's too obvious. All right. He's definitely getting shipped out. Supreme Court case law is absolutely on Trump's side. All the dumb court shit does is delay the inevitable by a few days.
To these people on the left and the right that are saying this Mohammed Khalil, the anti-Semitic, anti-Jew, anti-American, pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist dirtbag who incited these violent protests on college campuses in the name of Hamas and global intifada, okay, he's not a U.S. citizen. So, you know what? You can F all the way off. Go back to your part of the world where this kind of ideology is welcome, because it's a privilege to be an American and you are not one.
All right, that is the end of chapter 3 tonight. So we're in the home stretch here. Homework: what can our audience do in light of the main topic we discussed on this episode, which of course is Barack Obama and his crimes against the country, as well as running a shadow government the past 4 years. Number 1, speak up when Obama's name is mentioned and do your best to cover the facts that reveal he single-handedly has done more damage to America than anybody else in history. Number 2, share this video on our channel with your circle. Number 3, watch for politicians who are Obama allies and speak out against them. Dollar Store Obama would come to mind, for example. And because I don't have a panel with me tonight, there's no other input on that subject. Quick reminder, patreon.com/survival dispatch, $9.99 a month. Get signed up as an insider. You get our daily sit rep, which is everything you saw tonight, every single day, all the links and additional content, so you can consume it at your heart's desire. You don't have to hang with us for 2 or 3 hours through an entire podcast if you don't want to and you just want to catch the highlights and then do the reading on your own. You also get an invite to our Signal chat. So $9.99 a month. Sign up patreon.com/survival dispatch. Send an email to support@survivaldispatch.com. After you have Signal installed on your phone, don't hide your phone number during the setup or we can't send you an invite. But it's that simple. And by the way, libertyclub.net switched over to a new internet connection today. It's moving along pretty quickly. So you are welcome to sign up for a free account there or a paid account. So libertyclub.net, it's Todd Callender's new social media platform that my team built, predicated on freedom of speech. The only platform out there that will not delete or manipulate or suppress your posts unless it's pornography or illegal. I see some people have been testing already with some anti-Trump stuff. Whatever, that's free speech. You have to accept the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you're going to have free speech, you can't knock someone out and accept others. So Elon restored a good portion of it, but you'll still get penalized by code under the hood for saying things that the platform disagrees with. Facebook is nothing more than lip service towards restoring people's freedom of speech, and YouTube and Google is really stuck in censorship mode. So libertyclub.net, sign up for free. That's the new social media platform for Todd Callender. We are officially launched now. All right, conflicted question of the night. So here's a hypothetical local situation. Imagine a rural desert community in the Southwest during a prolonged drought. A wildfire sparked by lightning has spread rapidly due to dry conditions, forcing evacuation orders for nearby areas. Smoke is thick, reducing air quality to hazardous levels, and the local water supply is strained as firefighters tap into reserves. Power lines are shut off preemptively to reduce fire risk, leaving residents without electricity in 100-degree heat. So the prepper question is, if your area faces a wildfire that cuts power and strains water supplies during a heat wave, what steps can you take to protect your family from smoke inhalation, dehydration, and heat exhaustion while preparing for a potential evacuation? So first and foremost, you should have all kinds of water stacked up in advance at all points in time. When you go to the grocery, buy an extra case of water, put it somewhere, a closet, spare bedroom, garage, whatever the case may be. There's no excuse not to have a good stockpile of water. Number 2, if you were to burn through all of that water, make sure that you have a way to filter or purify water. Sawyer minis are a good choice. And no, you don't take turbid water full of debris and put it through a mini. Somebody said that we suggest that. We did no such thing. Is you get the heavy stuff out first with a cloth, whatever the case may be. Then you can pour the dirty water, drive it through the Sawyer mini to purify to the point that it's drinkable and doesn't taste like crap, like when you put the chlorine tablets in. The next part, of course, would be to be able to cover up your window. So if you've got heat at that kind of level, not only have we got smoke and whatnot going on in this scenario, but you want to keep the daylight out to try and keep the temperature down. If you have a basement, obviously that's going to be the coolest place in your home, but covering up your windows to keep the temperature down is a must. If you have a generator or battery backups plus generators. Make sure, if you live in the South, you may already have this, make sure that your attic fan is running, or your roof fan, or have a solar one put in that runs all the time. And if you can take that hot air out of your attic space, the rest of your house will remain relatively cool. And then beyond that, you should have some form of protective mask, gas mask, whatever the case may be. I would say in this type of scenario, you could probably get away with just like a regular dust mask, but it doesn't hurt to have good masks on hand as well. I will tell you that we have another mask coming from Mirror Safety, and Mirror Safety is my personal choice for masks because they are smart enough to make their masks, so that they have an indentation in the cheekbone area. So if you have a rifle or an AR pistol, SBR, whatever, you can get your normal cheek weld and see your optic. Whereas the other brands, I've yet to find any other brand that I can put on and shoot at the same time with without having my gun on some sort of crazy cantilever, not the way I like to hold it. The C21 that they're sending us is kind of like the next generation of the CM8 that we've showed before. But again, it's not something you would normally think of. Well, I'll get a gas mask, God forbid, but if shit hits the fan, I've got a gas mask and some 40 millimeter NATO filters for myself and my family. But then if it turns violent, all of a sudden you pick a gun up and you can't get a good cheek weld on it. You can't get a good view through the optic. You don't want to learn that as the shit is hitting the fan. So that's basically it for my suggestions on that topic. Love to hear what y'all have got to say either down below in the comments or put it in the live chat while you've still got a moment to do so. We've got closing vehicle tonight. Golly, you can tell I'm tired. Closing video tonight. That's an introduction to retards. It's a very popular term these days. It's been resurrected. It's 2 minutes and 14 seconds long. We will be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, same as every other night of the week. Until then, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. God bless America.
Usually, the mentally retarded are divided into classifications: the educable, the trainable, and the custodial. Obviously, we can only assess the abilities or potential of the mentally retarded on an individual basis. Seemingly random motions and movements are fairly common among the custodial retarded, and they may take many forms. Sometimes there are motions which seem to have no meaning whatever, and may even cause unintentional, self-inflicted injuries. The vast majority of the mentally retarded are intelligent enough that they can be taught a great many things. However, there's a wide range of ability even among those considered educable, and their ability to learn obviously varies according to their level of intelligence. Equally important is a stimulating environment. However, we must remember to set realistic standards that are not too high for the individual. Many of the trainable retarded can learn to take certain kinds of household responsibilities, some of which may be more complex than they are usually given credit for. It would be wrong to expect a mentally retarded person to become a master craftsman. The standards are too high. But even in the skilled trades, for example, the mentally retarded can be trained to become valuable assistants. Who are the mentally retarded? They are people. They come in both sexes and in all sizes, shapes, creeds, and colors. Wherever people live, there also live the mentally retarded.